What if I told you the UK government is quietly erasing your memes, blocking your news, and deciding what you're allowed to see online? Would you call that protection or censorship? Because right now, millions of Brits are asking the same question. Is this really about safety, or is it about control? The Online Safety Act has been sold as a shield for children, but the reality? It looks a lot more like a sword pointed at your freedom of speech. So let's get into the details. The Online Safety Act is being described as the most sweeping internet law ever passed in the UK, and one of the harshest anywhere in the Western world. It gives the regulator Ofcom the power to decide what content stays and what content goes. But here's the thing, the government is already facing a wave of backlash. A petition to repeal the law had crossed 450,000 signatures. VPN usage in Britain spiked 1,400% within minutes of the rules kicking in. And Wikipedia, yes, Wikipedia, lost in court, forced to comply with regulations it argued were completely unworkable. So I'll ask you this, is this really about safety? Or is this the beginning of censorship wrapped up with a friendly label? The law says platforms must take down illegal and harmful content, which makes it sound simple, doesn't it? But here's the problem. Harmful isn't clearly defined in a way that critics say avoids over-removal. So what constitutes harmful? Could it be an angry political rant? A meme mocking the Prime Minister? A controversial news article that challenges government policy? When you leave the definition this vague, companies panic. They'd rather delete too much than risk fines of up to 10% of their global turnover. And when that happens, the government doesn't even need to censor directly. Corporations will just do it for them. So let me ask you, are you okay with your speech being policed, not just by Parliament, but by corporate lawyers in Silicon Valley? Politicians love to say this is about protecting children from violent and harmful content. And who can argue with that? Nobody wants their children stumbling into that kind of content. But look closer at how this law actually works. It demands age verification checks across the internet. That means you could be asked to scan your face, upload your passport, or enter your credit card details just to access perfectly legal content. Crazier yet, the government itself has said that third-party providers are the ones that should complete these verification checks, which in itself raises massive privacy concerns that private companies are effectively being given free rein to store this data and use it in any way they see fit. Would you trust the government with a record of what you watch online? Would you trust tech companies not to leak that data or sell it? The truth is, the public doesn't. That's why VPN downloads went through the roof, and hundreds of thousands are signing petitions to repeal the law. So here's the uncomfortable truth. If a law sparks this much resistance, if people are literally trying to tunnel around it, was it really about children in the first place? Or was that just the excuse that was needed? This is where things get dangerous. X has already said outright that the Online Safety Act is putting free speech at risk. Wikipedia, a non-profit platform that exists to provide knowledge, fought back in court and lost. And this isn't just happening online. In Nottinghamshire, the local council cut off the Nottingham Post from press communications because it didn't like the coverage. Think about that. A local newspaper frozen out of the democratic process for doing its job. So let's be blunt. If newspapers can be silenced, and if global platforms can be forced into line, how long until your voice, your posts, your videos are next? And here's what nobody wants to admit. Laws like the Online Safety Act don't just stop at your phone. They feed into a much larger machine, surveillance and global precedent. Once Ofcom demands data from tech firms, what's to stop that data from being shared with law enforcement, intelligence agencies, or even foreign partners? Critics warn it could lay the groundwork for mass monitoring of ordinary users. And it isn't just the UK. Governments everywhere are watching closely what's happening at the moment. The EU's Digital Services Act is seen as a not too far cousin to the UK's law, while countries like Australia and Canada are considering similar models themselves. Authoritarian states like China and Russia can now point to Britain and say, see, even democracies censor the web. and use this as propaganda to continue to justify their actions in their mass surveillance and censorship of their citizens and say, look at this country, it's copying us, we must be doing it right. Here is how this censorship creep has unfolded, step by step. In July of 2025, age verification requirements go live. Ordinary users are asked for IDs or credit cards just to access websites. Outrage immediately follows. Then later in July 2025, VPN downloads in the UK skyrocket, with Proton VPN reporting a record-breaking 1,400% increase. People are already looking for loopholes. At the start of August 2025, X publicly declares the act a threat to free speech, urging revisions. Then to the middle of August 2025, Wikipedia takes the government to court. The High Court dismisses the challenge. Free information loses. And then towards the end of August 2025, 4chan and Kiwi Farms file lawsuits in the US arguing Ofcom's rules violate American free speech protections. The fight goes international. And then literally a couple of days after, local democracy takes a hit as Nottinghamshire Council shuts out the Nottingham Post, proving censorship isn't just global, it's local. So step back, what do you see? Not safety, not balance, but a steady march, month after month towards government-approved speech. Now, defenders of the act say it's about protecting the children and stopping extremism and creating a safer internet. They point out new measures to protect academic freedom at universities as proof they care about free speech. But how can you talk about free speech while silencing local journalists? How can you claim to defend democracy while demanding intrusive ID checks from millions of ordinary people? You can't, and the hypocrisy is staggering. So picture this. Tomorrow you wake up and your favourite subreddit is gone. Your favourite podcast episode is deleted. Your meme mocking a politician has been flagged as harmful and is potentially going to be removed. You shrug it off until it keeps happening again and again, until every joke, every article, every comment that challenges power slowly vanishes, and then you realise you don't live in a democracy online anymore. You live under digital oppression, only it came dressed up as safety. So I'll ask you one last time, is this about child protection? Or is it really about censorship? Is this safeguarding democracy or dismantling it piece by piece? If we accept this now, what freedoms will be left in 10 years? Let me know in the comments. Do you see the Online Safety Act as safety or state control? And if you think this debate matters, please like and subscribe, because conversations like this are exactly what governments would rather disappear. And I'm sure I'll be covering more of this topic in the future with any further developments as they come to light. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.